You are listening to the E2C Network, where the Auburn family speaks.
War Eagle Auburn fans, welcome to No Huddle, your source for Auburn football news and discussion, part of the E2C Network. I'm AJ Richardson, and I'm also here with Jared Davis. It's off week. It's bye week. We get a little break, and we got some fun topics. We got the winners for this, bye week. Who from Auburn's team and special groups. How do they win? Because they get an extra week of rest. But we also have a fun topic, and we got some subcategories under it. But it's around favorite restaurants in the Auburn-Opelika area. So, Jared, we're going to have a little bit of discussion, debate, whatever you want to call it, about what's your kind of favorite restaurant. We got different categories for it. So, you ready to get into this, Jared, and talk about some Auburn Tiger football, or Auburn Tiger eating in this case?
Yeah, I should have. Speaking of eating, I should have done that before we started, because I'm getting hungry just thinking about this. So, but yeah, let's dive in.
Yeah. Let's first start off with the winners for this week. We get a week off before we go and play Ole Miss. What in your mind is kind of like the biggest winner for us now that we've faced 7 opponents in back-to-back weeks, and now we finally get a little bit of a breather before we go over and play Ole Miss?
I think there's several things. I think the biggest, though, if you're asking about that, is Owen Papo. I think that it became a pretty common repeated theme that Owen could have played against Arkansas, but they didn't want a chance re-injuring it, especially with the bye week coming up. So give him 2 more weeks of rest.
Yeah.
Get him 100% for the remainder of the season. So I think that's the biggest story, getting that victory without him and getting to that bye week. So I would say that's probably the biggest, but there are other ones. And we've discussed them. What are you thinking about those?
Yeah. I mean, Owen comes to mind top of that list. I just think his leadership on the team, he's while he's recovering, has still been good, but it's nothing like him having being on the field. And both him and Zacoby McClain working together as just probably one of the most dynamic linebacker groups in college football right now. And I just can't wait to have him back. I mean, he's going to be a fun one to watch again. And I'm just glad to, it sounds like it's positive moving towards, being back for Ole Miss. So we get to see him finish up this season and do well. But also, I mean, I just started to think I feel like had some issues in the run game, and some of that, I don't think it necessarily falls on Tank or Jarquez or Shivers. I think it's mostly the offensive line not doing a good job of run blocking. And I know, they're loading the box. Defenses are loading the box against us, but you got to find a way to move the ball when you really need to. And for us to do that, it's going to take some time. And I hope our offensive line takes some time this off week to figure that out. Because I think, if we establish the run game combined with what we've kind of seen for the last few weeks with Bo Nix after you got benched, man, that's a tough offense for anybody to game plan around, because they can attack you in there and they can run the ball on you. So I think that's a key, especially going into the last 5 games of this tough schedule. I'll also kind of throw out this one. I think Bo's connections with wide receivers have become better, but I would love to see it become cemented. And the wide receivers know where Bo's passing to, and them just be on the same page. This is a good week, or I guess 2 weeks essentially, to kind of figure things out. So I want to see that connection there. And then I think it's just always, we get some extra prep for Ole Miss and heading over to Mississippi and facing off against the Rebel Black Bear Land Shark thingamabobs, whatever you want to call them. We're facing them right around. Is it on?
It might be Halloween, or I don't know when Halloween.
It's the day before Halloween. Okay. But of course, it just makes sense. They have 17 mascots, and they're worse than Auburn according to
Yeah, I
everybody
know.
else.
We have three,
There's
and that's the
two,
big
three.
story.
Yeah,
Well,
whatever.
they claim the Plainsman. I've never heard a true Auburn fan consider that a
No,
mascot, but
a Plainsman? Are you kidding me? No.
yeah, they try to say they try, but I also talk about there's Georgia has taken the simplest word in the dictionary, dog, and misspelled it. So that's always my comeback to them.
That's a good one. I like that one.
But yeah, so yeah, we got Ole Miss at home. That's a biggie. I don't know what the game has not been announced yet. I don't know who plays that week, but that might be CBS. I would love to get a night game. I think that would help Ole Miss is not going to be easy, guys. I mean, it's not your typical Ole Miss, but they are beatable. I think all in all, you could argue we are the overall better team, but they have the better offense. So
yeah,
we got to be ready.
Yeah, we have to be ready because Ole Miss can move the ball, and I think our defense is up for the challenge. Though, I mean, I haven't been necessarily at all this year been like, oh crap, our defense is we're going to be terrible the whole year. I think we've fixed some things and shown our defense can go up against most offenses and do pretty well. So we got to do that again, especially against a good offense like Ole Miss. All right, Jared, we're going to start our main conversation, and then we're also going to round out at the end kind of an Auburn fan perspective of the SEC. But I did want to get into our favorite restaurants in the Auburn Opelika area. And kind of my idea for this was, yeah, it's off week. Let's have something fun to talk about. A couple years ago, during one of our bye weeks, Ben King and I, we did a chicken finger debate, and I just thought it was amazing because we all, I feel like we all have our favorites as far as different food places, and there's some really good ones in the Auburn Opelika area. So Jared, let's have this discussion / debate around different food establishments in the Auburn Opelika area.
Let's do it. I am always available to talk about food. So
I'm
too. Excited.
Especially when I'm getting hungry. So yeah, I'm
absolutely.
getting hungry. Let's start off with kind of just overall. Jared, what was, you can name your favorite or like name a handful of favorites. What was, some of those favorite restaurants overall that you've experienced down in Auburn / Opelika?
Yeah, and I know you and I were at Auburn at different times. I mean, I was 01 to 05, I believe. So some of the restaurants, man, I've been there, although I think the ones I'll mention were still there. But yeah, I mean, all in all, I think it was not really any fancy sit downs. It was, your Guthrie's, loved Guthrie's. I did not even know about Zaxby's until like my senior year. So Guthrie's was the go-to cheeseburger. Always had a good experience there. Got a good cheeseburger and just the 50s diner feel. And then Mama Goldberg's, especially the one over there near campus.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know it's just a sub place, but it's right there on campus. It's an old house, and if you ever see a restaurant that looks old and run down, go inside. It's got good food.
Yes,
I mean, that's like the sign of good food. So, yeah, I think they're three of my prime spots, I guess, that I kind of kept going back to. We would do Niffers. I think Thursday nights they always had great deals.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in college, you're scrounging up pennies just to hit the 99-cent menu at Wendy's. So Niffers, we were there. I don't remember what the Thursday night thing was, but it was something to do with like buy one hamburger, get another one half off or something.
Yeah, they still had that. I think when I was in college from 2010 to 2015, they had. I can't remember if it was Thursday, but it was a night of the week, and our friends always would want to go, and it was so good. Going to Niffers.
I think they had a different deal. Hamburger happened to be the one that me and my buddies liked. I think they did a deal every night. I think one was wings and stuff like that. So yeah, you probably were able to find one every night.
Yeah. But of those, like, did you have like a favorite? Like you even sometimes not when you're outside of Auburn now, you think back and you're like, yeah, that was probably my favorite spot. Any of those kind of stand out?
I mean, it's so tough because I would still say Guthrie's is my favorite chicken finger place. I would like to pick and choose. So the thing I really love about Mama Goldberg's, and it's so simple, is the Doritos that they put the pepper jack cheese and steam it.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through Guthrie's drive-through and get their chicken fingers. I'm going to go to Mama Goldberg's and get the Doritos with the pepper jack. And then I'm going to go have a picnic. Like that's my favorite. That's what I'm going to go do. Okay. So I'm going to piece it. Can I piece two places together?
Sure.
Is that okay?
Sure. We're gonna say that's okay.
Okay.
I'm making
All
the
right.
rules up as we go, guys.
Okay. So I'm piecing two together there. And I know that's not fancy. I know that's chicken fingers, but I would say that's probably that was my go-to.
Yeah, I think so
How about
too.
you?
I mean, I have some similar ones. Definitely Niffers, Mama G's. Those were on up there. I think after games, I love going to Cheeseburger, getting a good milkshake. Those were always some fun times. Like even after I painted up for a couple of games in the 2010 season.
Wait.
Went,
I didn't know this about you. Were you one of the?
Oh yeah.
You would paint. Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I did it. I didn't do it every game, but I probably did it like 5 or 6 games throughout
That's
like
awesome.
my time in college. Yeah.
I just learned something about you. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
carry on. Sorry. Get back to food.
But I also, I mean, it's gonna sound like a little weird, but when I was in college, Gus Malzahn made I felt like Waffle House that much more popular when he would go there after a big victory. So I feel like that was a fun one. The one that he went to, I ate out a good bit because I was hanging out at the Auburn BCM downtown, and that was right down there, and it was easy. You went down there, got yourself a waffle and some coffee, or some milk, whatever. You just enjoyed some good Waffle House, and I feel like that's part of the college experience. And I mean, I know Waffle House isn't specific to Auburn, but when you're in college, it feels like it is.
Can I make a Waffle House steak and shake any 24/7? Yeah, that's a staple in a college town. Can I make a confession and you and I remain friends?
Sure.
Okay. I don't like Waffle House.
What? No.
Yeah.
Unfriend you. Boom.
I was you literally just unfriended me on Facebook. I'm kidding. Yeah, I know I've been kind of like I only tell that in specific groups with people I feel comfortable with.
Well, now it's on the internet.
I know. Yeah, I think Waffle House is overrated. I said it. There we go. So
Wow.
I apologize. I get the Gus thing. So yeah, I understand wanting to go there because of that. I think Waffle House is hugely overrated, but I still respect you, AJ.
Okay. Appreciate it. One other of my favorites, and this was definitely an Auburn only kind of place, was Good Old Boys. And Jared, did you ever get to experience Good Old Boys?
I did not, but it sounds good. Was that
Yeah.
like country cooking or what was that?
Yeah, country cooking. My favorite thing to get there, and I think one of their specialties was steak and cheap steak. Relatively, college budget when I was in college. I mean, I've gone back since, and it's been really good steaks. So it's one of those things where I would probably still go back if I was craving a good steak. I would probably go back to Good Old Boys.
Is it still there?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to try it out next time I'm there. Yeah, again, if you're named Good Old Boys, that's good food.
Yeah. I think they did change some management over. So it's not the exact same as what it used to be. But even when I've gone back, the steaks have been really good. So no complaints there.
I'll have to try it out.
A couple like honorable mentions in there. I really enjoy the Hound for brunch / breakfast kind of food. Theirs is always on point, really phenomenal. Just really good food. And I know we're missing a lot of probably your favorites, but we're just hitting on some of our favorites. And particularly, I mean, Jared and I, like when we were in college, like the times, what did we like when we were at Auburn as students?
I just thought of this actually. So we called Foy one time. Do you remember Foy? Was it?
Oh
around?
yeah, the Foy number. Yeah, it's still a thing.
Yeah, Foy was Google before Google. So I had friends in Athens that called them. We called Foy asking them where the Krispy Kreme was. And you got to remember, people, we didn't have GPS on our phone when I was in college. We went down to Montgomery, asked them where the Krispy Kreme was. And the lady tried to convince me how bad that was for my health. I remember that conversation. That was always a funny convo. I'm like, listen, hey, I'm getting donuts. Please help me. Please help me find Krispy Kreme.
Hey, and now Auburn has its own Krispy Kreme.
I never understood why a donut 24/7 place, that you got to have that in a college town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had mom and pop was like Daylight Donuts. I don't know if that's still there, honestly. Maybe it is.
If you fry batter and put sugar on it and you are open like late into the night, you need to be in a college town.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
That's
Definitely.
bottom line.
Yeah.
That's like marketing 101. This one's not, and I really do like it because I honestly never enjoyed this food group until I had it here. But this is not one that people are going to think of. But just so people know, Chicken Salad Chick, which is now franchised and in Atlanta, all over the place. It was started in someone's home in Auburn.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a pretty cool story. I mean, I've actually got to meet the founder of Chicken Salad Chick once. It's a pretty cool story. I mean, and I could definitely consider that an Auburn thing. And I mean, I'm not the hugest fan of Chicken Salad Chick just because I don't like chicken salad. I mean, I'll eat it. It's not my favorite food group. My wife loves it, but and I'll eat it for her. But I don't necessarily think, oh, I'm gonna go to Auburn and get Chicken Salad Chick. But I know the people that love chicken salad, they swear by Chicken Salad Chick and will get it by the pounds.
I would not get it at Auburn just because we have it other places, but I'm telling you, chicken salad has never been on my radar. And then I had it at Chicken Salad Chick, and I was like, oh. And then I heard the story, starting from Auburn and how it started, and I said, oh, that's a cool story from Auburn. Anything from Auburn, you kind of get excited. So yeah, I just thought we needed to at least throw that out there because a lot of people may not know that that's where it started.
Yeah. All right. Before we move, kind of this overall, best restaurants that were or still in Auburn. I think I'm gonna have to place it either on Cheeseburger or Good Old Boys. Like I feel like both of those were just solid almost every time I went in. I think I'm gonna lean Good Old Boys just because I love steak. and man, it was a good cheap steak. Like I could get a good steak for like I think in college it was like $8 or $9, which
wow.
That's absurd for a good steak.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm exaggerating, but it was right around $10. It was a good deal. All right, Jared. Next topic for different kinds of food restaurants, places that you consumed food. Let's talk about chicken fingers in particular. You've already mentioned Guthrie's. I think that's your favorite. Is that accurate? Favorite chicken place in Auburn?
Yes.
Now, did you go to like the original location? It probably was.
I don't know. The one that I lived near exit 51. So we went to the one, there was like a pop-up in the Winn-Dixie parking lot. And for young people, Winn-Dixie was a grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know where the original one. I went to many. Well, there was one kind of up towards campus. Is that the original?
Man, off the top of my head, it has been a while. I bet other people are probably yelling at me through their headsets right now. But
yeah, there was one that was just north of it was north of the railroad tracks after you've gone through downtown Auburn. You'd have to like take a right and then a left. It was up there kind of towards like Brick Oven, where Brick Oven was. It was back off behind that, the way the bird flies.
Yeah,
but I don't know which one was the original.
Yeah, and I mean, anytime I've had Guthrie's, it's been really good. Are there any other chicken places that you really, really like down at Auburn? I feel like they're on every corner, if I'm being honest. They seem to be everywhere just because, good fried chicken fingers are just so good. And when I say fingers, like
chicken fingers. I think Breezeway was kind of on par with Guthrie's. So they were pretty good. Jim Bob's kind of came to the scene later in I think as I was leaving. But I felt like they were also on par with Guthrie. So, at the end of the day, all those it's fried chicken. The funny thing was they all had the special sauce and it all tasted the same. I'm like, it ain't that special. you all are doing the same recipe. So, even Zaxby's. But, that's, I say those three were probably my top ones.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I definitely agree. I went to Breezeway a lot on Sundays for lunches, and that was such a good lunch after church. We also ate, and this wasn't in my time at Auburn, but I'm so glad it came. Probably, I'm gonna say it's my favorite, is Foosackly's. They have, like, I grew up in Mobile, Alabama. They just make really good chicken, and they do it pretty darn cheap. Like, I mean, I've heard, Foosackly's kind of described as like the cheaper, like as far as money, but same value as Zaxby's. And I, agree with that. I mean, it's a really good place. And I think one of the things Foosackly's has that Zaxby's doesn't is Fusakli has some like just incredible sauces, just good variety of sauces that you can put with your fried chicken, and it just tastes so good. It's amazing. I'll also kind of throw out a couple like honorable mentions that I definitely, when I think back to Auburn and getting some good chicken fingers, is Tenda Chick. You remember that one, Jared?
I do.
Yeah.
I do remember Tenda Chick.
And then Louis Chicken. So
I did not know Louis, but I know Tenda Chick.
Yeah. And I love Jim Bob's too. I feel like Jim Bob's is probably it's probably number 2 or number 3 for me. And Fusakli's is definitely number 1.
The thing I liked about Guthrie's is you literally rolled up, and I mean they've changed it now, I'm sure, but like it was not hard to order there. Like, do you want a box of 4, 10, or 15 chicken fingers, and do you want toast with it?
Yeah,
it's like the easiest thing in the world to order. And when you got several people that are trying to in the same car, it's like, hey, I mean, the worst thing to do is to pull up and you got a lot of options and everybody's in your ear what they want.
Oh,
not
yes.
at Guthrie's. Like,
No.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know, like that's what they do, and they do it really well. It's one of those kinds of restaurants. So I know there's some big people that are big believers in like it was the original Guthrie's, like you have to go to that one. I still enjoy the other Guthrie's, but I mean, some people live and die on it has to be the original location that was in Auburn for Guthrie's, and that was the best one ever. So I know there's people out there like that.
Hey Auburn fans, I want to take a quick timeout from this episode to bring your attention to something very special. Here at the E2C Network, we pride ourselves on bringing you the best content for Auburn fans out there. And best of all, it's free to you. But just because it's free doesn't mean there aren't costs, especially when you have a library of hundreds of podcasts, videos, blogs, and more. Many of you have reached out and asked how you can support this network in the past. Well, now I have your answer. It's called the E2C Network Booster Club over at patreon.com/E2C Network. There you'll find a membership monthly reward system where you can sign up for as little as $1 and get different perks at different tiers. Some of those perks include things such as apparel, eligibility to join us on future podcasts, recognition as an E2C Network booster, exclusive communications, and bonus content that is available nowhere else. If you love this network and want to help us keep producing podcasts like this one, please head on over to patreon.com/E2C Network to join the E2C Network Booster Club. You can also get there by going to our website, e2cnetwork.com/support. Whether you decide to join or not, we are still so appreciative that you would support us by just listening and being here, because each and every one of you is part of our E2C Network family. Well, that's it. Timeout's over. Let's get back into the episode.
Let's talk about the last topic here. And this is one that I think, Jared, you and I were just kind of thinking on, and it just kind of came up organically, was restaurants in Auburn that are actually no longer there. They ended up closing down. And Jared, any kind of those kinds of restaurants that you think back on, you're like, yeah, those restaurants were awesome, but yet now you look at them in 2021 and now they're closed. Any kind of stick out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I know one is closed, and I've heard the other is closed or moved. So I like Brick Oven Pizza. I don't think that one in Auburn's there anymore. And I know Mike and Ed's Barbecue is closed, and that was hands down my favorite barbecue place.
Yeah, I think Mike and Ed's, as far as the number of times I went to get barbecue in Auburn, easily Mike and Ed's. Like, I went there at least once a week in college. And I mean, goodness, like I miss their sweet tea that was out of their trash can.
Yep.
Like,
yeah.
Do.
I'm a germaphobe, and I was like, oh my goodness, you got to be real good sweet tea for me to drink out of a trash can.
Yeah, it's not the same. I mean, I really miss that place. Like, their barbecue was so good. Give me some hickory, chop it up, give me a good barbecue sandwich, pork sandwich. Man, that was just that was incredible every time I went there.
I agree. It was a good place. I hate it closed.
Yeah. Another one, and it's kind of stay with the barbecue, Price's Barbecue House. on College Street. That one, my dad raved about when he was in college, and I thankfully got to experience it for most of the time. Actually, every year I was in college. I think they ended up closing like 2016 or 2017.
Was that the one with the pig out front?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Right when you
Okay.
came into campus from, if
Yeah.
you're taking
Yeah.
85.
It was good. I agree. It was good.
Yeah. And I think what I think their barbecue was good. And at times usually pretty, I don't know if it was great all the time, but I think where they stood out was their breakfast. Like I could go there. I mean, I did it in college. Like I would eat there sometimes like a couple times a week for breakfast alone, because their breakfasts were just so delicious. So I definitely miss their breakfasts. I don't know if it's probably just as equally as I do miss their barbecue. Like they did a good job with all that. I'll kind of throw out a couple other things that I definitely missed. And I don't know if you got to experience these, but did you ever get to go to Chill Froyo? I don't know if that was it was a brand called Chill, and they made some good, delicious frozen yogurt. Do you ever get to experience that?
Frozen yogurt was not real popular yet when I was there, so
Okay.
those places were not popping up. So no, it may have been there. I was unaware of it.
Okay. It's near that McDonald's kind of downtown. It's right around there. Now it ended up closing. I forget when it was. It had to be in the last like 3-4 years.
Yeah, I feel like frozen yogurt places have a lifespan of about 3 years.
That's usually pretty accurate.
What's so tough? They got to make all their money essentially, in the summer, and even in a college town, like kids are gone for the summer. So
yeah, exactly.
Tough.
Yeah, that one we really enjoyed. It was near the Auburn BCM downtown. I think it was a fan favorite of just going and getting a quick, some good froyo. And it's always nice. Like I feel like they did, you do it by weight. So like anybody, if you had a small budget, you could just get a little bit of ice cream and still enjoy it. Or if you just wanted to be a fatty and fill up your whole bowl with like $15 worth of froyo, you could.
Put your mouth up under the machine and just pull the thing.
Yeah. That's what froyo is there.
Not
for,
that
right?
anybody would ever do that, AJ. I don't know why that came to mind.
Yeah, I'm might be over here, like maybe thinking about doing it. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
Another couple good ones, and I got to experience this one was Cancun Mexican. It was a good restaurant, just good Mexican. It was on Opelika Road. Really good place, and ended up closing, I think, in the last few years, like at least 2-3 years, something like that. But really enjoyed their food, and just give me a good Mexican meal and I'm a happy man. I'll throw another couple out there that I was thinking of. Cock of the Walk down in Opelika. Did you ever experience that one?
I did not.
Yeah. I got to eat there at least 2 or 3 times. I enjoyed it. I enjoy Cock of the Walk. They had them when I was growing up around where we lived. And then I got to have it at Auburn. So enjoyed that. So kind of sad that one's leaving. I'll throw out another one, and I feel like this is a fan favorite of my dad, and I know a lot of other people, is the Santa Freeze. That everybody just raves about it. I still wish somebody has that recipe of their ice cream and somehow brings it back. I mean, I feel like it would be a fan favorite around Auburn, and I feel like it would be successful. I mean, just the folklore around it.
I'm game for that.
Yeah. So Jared, are you kind of like landing on like Mike and Ed's? Was that probably your favorite, restaurant that's no longer in Auburn, or is there another one?
No, I think it's Mike and Ed's. I think that was good food. I really enjoyed that place.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Price's Barbecue House just because it had a good variety of barbecue, but it also had it was really good breakfast. So I think the variety there definitely helped it out. All right, Jared, let's kind of finish things off with talking about an Auburn fan perspective of the SEC. This is our segment where we talk about all of the different games that went on over the last week and just the chaos that always happens. And this week was quite a chaotic week. There was a coach that was told he was no longer going to be part of the team. He's after this year, he's done. But then we also had, fans throwing a bunch of trash on the field. So, pretty fun stuff going on in just 1 week of college football. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I joked the last 54 seconds of the Tennessee Ole Miss game took like 30 minutes, which is just about the equivalent of the last 54 seconds of a basketball game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it kind of felt like that.
When they call foul, they foul and timeout, foul time. 54 seconds of a basketball game takes like 15 minutes. So I felt like we had already kicked off basketball season.
It's about time.
Yeah,
because hey, we're a basketball school. We need.
Well, I was on the verge, man. That Arkansas game. That I was like, all right, if this goes south, I'm just moving on to basketball, and they pulled me back in. So
yeah, but yeah, let's talk about that. I feel like the Tennessee versus Ole Miss game. It's everybody's talking about it. Tennessee lost to Ole Miss. Tennessee at home had the momentum. They had potentially the win, and they had a chance to come back. And I get it. There were some bad calls from refs. It happens. It happens to everybody. And I think the SEC refs are getting worse, if that's even possible. Is that possible, Jared?
Sometimes they would be better not showing up. They would do a better job if they didn't show up.
Yeah. That I understand, like they're mad about that, but there's different ways. There's ways that you can tell the refs that you're mad about something, and don't throw trash on the field. Like, just don't. Like, and the weird thing is, like, I know there's 100,000 fans in Neyland Stadium, but and there's probably only a handful of those that actually picked up their water or picked up their beer and threw it on the field. But what, Jared, like, what, why would they do that? It stops the game. I feel like it gets your, like, Tennessee players out of the mindset of, I don't know, playing a game because they're trying to survive, because people are throwing things on the field and actually hitting their own players and cheerleaders and band, everybody. Like, is that doing any good? No, it's not.
If you ever wondered, like, should SEC schools like just open up the floodgate with alcohol being allowed? I think that's a pretty good case study for not, because I don't think there's alcohol allowed in Neyland Stadium, and you saw how crazy it got. And it's just how SEC football is, man. People are so passionate. If they feel like they were wronged, I got a bigger issue with like what they were throwing. There was a thing of mustard on the field, golf balls. I'm like, what are people bringing to football games? But yeah, it was crazy. That's what happens. You mix passion with, they thought they were screwed over by the refs, and it's not right. But that's how that happened.
Yeah, it's just crazy to me. And like, I have a feeling, and the SEC has already kind of come out and said, hey, we're going to have some repercussions. Like, they got to figure things out. And like, fans rushing the field, that's kind of in that, it's unsafe technically for people to do, especially bystanders, people watching the game, to get on a field. I know it's like, and that's why they have the fine. They have the $250,000 fine. But if you're throwing things like legitimately, things like a golf ball that hit Lane Kiffin, and if it had hit him in the wrong spot, it could have caused some more damage than they'd want. But you got to start thinking, like, the SEC is about to drop some fines and put something down. If this happens again at any other SEC school, this is what you can expect. You can expect big fines. Maybe terrible. I don't know. It's like some sort of, I don't know, maybe they lose scholarships or something. I don't know. Like, it's got to be something that hurts, but at the same time not be overbearing. So it's got to find this like weird balance with this. So it's just weird.
Interesting to see how it plays out, for sure.
Yeah. All right. Another kind of interesting one that we ended up seeing was LSU beating Florida in Baton Rouge. I felt pretty good about that. And it made me feel better just because, we had a couple weeks ago down in Baton Rouge beaten this LSU team. And yet number, what are they, 20 now? Yeah. Florida, they're unranked now. So But if Florida couldn't do it, but Auburn did. Like, that makes me feel pretty good that we were able to go down, play a good game, and beat LSU. But I think the bigger storylines for this game kind of around the coaches. I think the first one is around Ed Orgeron. Apparently there was a kind of a deal kind of made with Ed Orgeron and LSU that this is going to be Ed Orgeron's last year at LSU. And hey, Jared, we kind of alluded to it before in other podcasts. We got another LSU coach fired. Does that feel good? I feel like it feels kind of good. We did against Les Miles too. Like, it's nice.
Yeah, it feels good. And then you start thinking, oh no, they're like the names they could bring in to coach. And I'm like, oh, that'll just make the West a lot harder. So
yeah.
I'm like, yeah, let's keep Ed Orgeron over there. But
I'm kind of rooting for LSU to win the rest of their games, and then like their fan base be like, no, Ed you can't leave us.
Go. Yeah. I mean, there's crazy things breaking. I mean, I just saw a report where apparently Orgeron would allow friends of his, including quote unquote apparently girlfriends, come to practice, and kids would be able to get in drills like their kids and stuff.
No,
I don't know if that's true, but I mean, like things are starting to unfold of why this is not a surprise and why it's happening.
If that, I mean, even if that's like somewhat true, like that is a big. That's, I mean, like, wow. Yeah, they had some issues.
Again, keep in mind speculation, and I don't know, but there was an article written that a buddy shared, and essentially, yeah, he was allowing what they said were girlfriends and their kids to get, not the girlfriends, but the kids of the girlfriends to get on the field, and kind of play around when they were doing drills.
What the heck?
So I don't know. But yeah, if that's the case, maybe because you're like, okay, well, why did Ed O agree to this? Why? Because he's probably having to take less money. But if there's things like that out there, he might want to keep that hush hush if he wants another head coaching job. So he might have been like, oh yeah, part ways, pay me less money, and we'll keep this under wraps.
Yeah, that could be the case. But I also wanted to talk about the other head coach in the LSU versus Florida matchup, Dan Mullen. He got Mississippi State at one point to be number one, ended up playing in a New Year's Six bowl. And that's hard to do at Mississippi State. And Dan Mullen was able to do it. So I think he's a good coach, but I wanted to pose this question. Do you think he is the right fit long-term to be the coach at Florida?
Before this season, I would have said, yeah. I mean, I don't like Dan Mullen. He's made some comments about Auburn players when we played them in the past, and I thought he was totally incorrect, and it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But from a coaching perspective, I thought he was one of the better offensive minds in football, and may still be. He may just not be able to do the whole thing. He may not be able to run the whole program, may not be able to deal with the stress of Florida. It's a little different at Mississippi State than Florida. Mm-hmm. And you're up against Georgia, although I say that's really their biggest competition right now. So he should be doing better right there. But yeah, I mean, for whatever reason, Florida fans are fed up with him before the LSU game. So now they lose to LSU, who had already agreed to fire their coach. I mean, that didn't just happen. And they lost to him. So they're not going to be happy. Add the fact that their stud freshman quarterback is now saying things when asked about fans who might be afraid he might transfer, is saying, all I can say right now is I'm a Florida Gator right now, and that's about all I have to say on that.
Like, when you say it that way, something else is up.
Yeah. Like, why would they even be a question of him transferring unless there's other things that have already gone on behind the scenes? So it could unravel. I mean, but winning cures all. And if he somehow beats Georgia, which is not out of the realm of possibility, he can draw up good offensive game plans. I mean, he's got talent there. If he can beat Georgia, then all will be forgotten as long as he doesn't go lose, crazy games. But it's not good for them right now.
Yeah, I mean, really, the rest of his season, he's just pretty much got Georgia. Like Florida, in all reality, should beat South Carolina every year. And yet right now, both of them have the same record, 4-3. And then they got Samford, Missouri, and Florida State. I think they should beat all of them. Florida State's down this year. And like They should beat that. They should at least win 3 more games, if not 4. I really think 4 is probably actually pretty reasonable. And if they do that, then I think, he kind of saves face and, he moves on. They have a 7-5 season, something like that. Yeah, they'll be fine. 8-4, something like that. Not the worst year ever. But I did want to kind of bring up the stat because, it kind of puts in perspective where you're saying Florida fans are kind of mad at him and just frustrated with him. Dan Mullen right now, over the last 10 games, is 4 of 6. He's only won 4 of the last 10 games. And then when you take out Florida Atlantic and South Florida, they're really 2-6. So it's like there's some issues going on with beating good opponents down at Florida, which I feel like shouldn't be the case. Florida is a dominant, good team, and they shouldn't have those issues, but they're definitely having them. And I think that's all going to fall on Dan Mullen's head. So
yeah, I agree. His seat is definitely very warm.
Yeah, I don't think he'll lose his job this year unless something catastrophic happens and he somehow loses to South Carolina and then just doesn't score any points against Georgia. Maybe then I think you start talking about he might get fired because it up to the Florida standard of play, that is not it.
Nope, I agree.
All right, let's also talk about a couple more games, just very briefly. Bama did dominate Mississippi State. I heard Lee Corso before the game say something like, "Oh, it's going to be a closer game than everybody thinks." And I was like, "Are you kidding me? No, it's Mississippi State and it's Bama. Bama is about to just roll over Mississippi State, especially after just losing. They want to come out and play hard and prove that they should be in the playoffs." So I knew that was game was going to play out that way.
Yeah, that game did not surprise me at all.
Number 21, Texas A&M beat Missouri 35-14. Texas A&M, they're kind of bouncing back, getting back to it. But I still feel like they're not up to what they should be.
No, I agree with you.
Another one, Georgia beat Kentucky. I think for a minute there, we all thought maybe Kentucky has a chance. And then Georgia does what Georgia does, and their defense just clamped down on Kentucky. Kentucky did end up scoring, I think, 2 touchdowns. I think they missed their PAT or something. But hey, they scored 13 points on Georgia. So that's more than even Auburn can say. So, and then last game that I wanted to mention, South Carolina beat Vandy, and 2 bottom feeders going at each other. And South Carolina barely won that one 21-20. So lots of fun games that happened this week. Lots of good discussions. SEC football is always entertaining, and this week was no different. Jared, any other final thoughts before we get out of here?
Nope. Just going to enjoy a stress-free weekend and watch other people sweat as their teams play and enjoy the bye week.
Oh, yeah. Definitely enjoy the bye week. This is a good one to enjoy. And, hey, if you're around the Auburn Opelika area, we talked about some good restaurants. If you haven't tried any of the ones we've mentioned, I can personally recommend all of the ones that we've talked about. They are phenomenal. And unfortunately, forget about all the ones we said. We're no longer, in Auburn. Try to put those out of your mind.
Focus on the ones you can actually go to.
Yeah. I still crave some Mike and Ed sweet tea every once in a while. But unfortunately, I can't actually get some.
You can't get any.
All right, Jared, before we get out of here, how can the people stay in touch with you?
You can find me on Facebook under my name, Jared Davis.
And you can find me on Twitter at AJAY_. It's always great to be an Auburn Tiger. And War Eagle.
War Eagle.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode on the E2C Network. On your way out, I want to remind you to stop by e2cnetwork.com. It's your one-stop shop for all our content across our podcast, YouTube channel, and much more. To stay up to date with us, make sure you're following social media accounts such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. While our content here may always be Auburn sports heavy, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. War Eagle.